Cuban Foreign Minister Bruno Rodriguez has presented the annual report on the impact of the US blockade against Cuba. The US presidential candidates Donald Trump and Joe Biden are set to come face-to-face in their last debate before the November 3rd elections. The World Health Organization's Regional Director for Africa says new COVID-19 rapid diagnostic tests are a potential game-changer in the fight against the pandemic. From the headquarters of teleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South, and I'm Katrina Goss. We begin in Cuba, where this Thursday Foreign Minister Bruno Rodriguez presented the annual report regarding the impact of the United States economic, commercial and financial blockade against Cuba. The report, presented every year to the UN General Assembly, outlines the arguments to support the resolution calling on the United States government to lift the blockade policy. Support in the General Assembly for the resolution submitted each year by Cuba is overwhelming, with the US practically isolated from the international community. As the Cuban Foreign Minister outlined this Thursday, the Donald Trump administration has implemented more than 100 measures to strengthen the blockade policy. This year's report shows that Cuba has suffered losses of more than $922 billion due to the impact of the US blockade.
From April 2019 to March 2020, that is the period that we use to quantify the damages made by the blockade and present this report that I'm doing right here today for the public opinion, for the international community, and especially for our people, on the implementation of the blockade that has been sent to the Secretary General of the United Nations and that will be published very soon, and therefore establishes that cycle. I can let you know that the blockade in this time has caused losses to Cuba in over $5.7 billion. It's the first time that the damages of the blockade surpasses the number of $5 billion. The blockade has establishes today to our people, to our government, a challenge, an additional challenge to face the pandemic that is ravaging the world right now. The efficient development of our people and our government facing the COVID-19 can only be explained by the strength of the Cuban health system, the strength of the scientific potential that we have developed, and the implication that direct and motivated of our citizens, of Cuban families, of our people in the fight against the pandemic. The report that we are presenting denounces with grounds, with unrefutable evidence, the strengthening of blockade policy between 2019 and 2020. That is a period that is marked at the same time by an increase of hostilities of US policy against our people and all sovereign states.
Tropical storm Epsilon gathered strength on Wednesday night to become a major Category 3 hurricane, but has since weakened as it approaches Bermuda. The hurricane continued to churn towards Bermuda on Thursday afternoon after making what the National Hurricane Center called a wobbly turn toward the northwest. The storm, the 10th hurricane of an extremely active Atlantic season, was about 215 miles east-southeast of Bermuda, according to a 2 p.m. Eastern advisory from the Hurricane Center. Epsilon weakened over the course of the morning and was moving northwest at 8 miles per hour, with maximum sustained winds of 90 miles per hour, below the strength of a Category 2 storm. Bolivia's Supreme Electoral Tribunal continues to advance with the vote count following Sunday's general elections, with 95.61% of the ballots cast already counted this Thursday. Meanwhile, the movement towards socialism continues to strengthen its lead over the Citizen Community Alliance, which placed second. According to the official count by the Supreme Electoral Tribunal, the movement towards socialism has now secured 54.54% of the vote, which represents over 3.2 million ballots. Meanwhile, the Citizens Community Alliance secured 29%, representing more than 1.7 million of the total votes. The electoral authorities are set to conclude the vote count on Friday to officially announce the movement towards socialism's landslide victory in the country's general elections held on October 18th. The Argentine Grandmothers of the Plaza de Mayo human rights organization is celebrating its 43rd anniversary with an online event this Thursday. The organization was founded in 1977 with the goal of finding the children stolen and illegally adopted during the Argentine dictatorship in order to put them in contact with their surviving biological families. Many of the stolen children were born to mothers who were imprisoned by the dictatorship and later disappeared. Inspired by the courage of these mothers and grandmothers, the Argentine Congress ruled in 2004 that October 22nd would be declared Argentina's National Day of the Right to Identity. The day honors the tireless efforts of the grandmothers of the Plaza de Mayo to recover the identity of the approximately 500 grandchildren who were stolen as babies during the dictatorship and raised in most cases by collaborators of the military regime. Social sectors in Ecuador took to the streets on Thursday to protest economic measures promoted by the government of President Lenin Moreno. Several social and rural workers' organizations, as well as education sector unions, called for a national mobilization to reject the agreement reached between the Ecuadorian government and the International Monetary Fund. The new deal includes a cut in salaries, an increase in fuel prices, and an increase of 3% in value-added tax, among other unpopular neoliberal measures. Mobilized organizations have also warned President Moreno that they will continue to take to the streets until the government addresses their demands. On Thursday, Colombia's Senate held a debate on the second motion of no confidence presented against Defense Minister Carlos Holmes Trujillo. The debate was conducted virtually due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The motion was presented by Colombian lawmakers for the Alternative Democratic Pole Party, Ivan Cepeda and Jorge Enrique Roberto, and is based on the minister's consent regarding the presence of United States troops in the country without the authorization of the Senate, as well as his responsibility for the deteriorating security situation in the country with escalating violence, continued assassinations of social leaders, and the excess use of force by police across the country. Senator Ivan Cepeda stressed that the defense minister has seriously undermined the implementation of the 2016 peace accords and has also used his position and public funds to promote his electoral campaign. The first motion of no confidence presented against Trujillo in the House of Representatives was related to the repression committed by police forces during the protests that broke out in the capital, Bogotá, in September. In just 12 days' time, the United States will see one of the most important elections in its recent history. This Thursday night, current President Republican Donald Trump and his challenger, former Vice President Joe Biden, are set to come face-to-face in the last presidential debate. After the shameful fiasco witnessed during the first debate, in which Trump interrupted the moderator and Biden several times when he was presumably contagious with COVID-19, and following similar behavior during the separate town halls that replaced the second scheduled debate, the Presidential Debate Commission decided to mute the rival candidate's microphone to allow each to speak uninterrupted for 2 minutes. The move seeks to impose some discipline on Trump and will put pressure on Biden to give clear and complete answers on policy questions. Meanwhile, the veteran Democrat is leading almost every poll ahead of the November 3rd vote, although the same was the case 4 years ago with Hillary Clinton, which didn't prevent Trump from winning the elections.
La desinformación impulsada por Donald Trump llega en los precisos instantes en que los casos del coronavirus comienzan a dispararse en varias zonas del país, ahora en la población más joven. Se ha decidido que mientras un candidato está haciendo uso de sus 2 minutos de tiempo inicial, el micrófono del contrincante...
The head of a Red Cross team monitoring the dispute in the Nagorno-Karabakh region has called on Azerbaijani and Armenian forces to stop shelling civilians and respect international law, as the ongoing conflict has killed nearly 1,000 people.
We express that we request the sides to respect rules of international humanitarian law. This is very important. They have to spare the life of the civilian infrastructure. Because there has been situations in which they have been using heavy artillery in populated areas. Important question, and it's very important to clarify that the discussions, negotiations about any ceasefire and any body retrieval operation lies in the responsibility of the sides to the conflict. So they are the ones that have to do all the discussions, negotiations and agreements, and the ICRC stands ready to play its neutral role when the sides come to an agreement and request our support.
Germany's Disease Control Centre reported a new daily record increase in coronavirus infections this Thursday as the country battles a surge in cases.
Today, with 11,287 cases, we have the highest number ever in the last 7 days. About 3 times as many cases have been reported as 2 weeks ago. But we must expect that the virus will continue to spread strongly, at least in some regions, and that the virus may even spread uncontrolled. And we also have to assume that the number of serious cases will increase and that the number of deaths will also rise.
Germany has registered 56.2 COVID-19 cases per 100,000 residents over the past 7 days, with some hotspots, including several districts of the capital, reporting far more than double that figure. To date, the nation has confirmed more than 400,000 cases and over 10,000 COVID-19 related deaths. A Greek court ruled Thursday to imprison the leadership of the far-right Golden Dawn Party following their convictions for running the party like a criminal organisation. The judges rejected a request to suspend the sentences of party leader Nikos Mitsotakis and other former lawmakers who were convicted of leading a criminal organisation. The decision by a 3-judge panel on Thursday came after 2 weeks of summations by defence lawyers following the prosecutor's recommendation that all former Golden Dawn legislators be allowed to remain free pending appeal. The appeals process could take several years. The court granted suspended sentences to 5 of the party's 18 former legislators who were convicted of lesser charges. Mitsotakis and another 5 former lawmakers received 13-year prison sentences, while a 6th was sentenced to 10 years. 11 former Golden Dawn lawmakers convicted of lesser offences received sentences of between 5 and 7 years. The World Health Organization's Regional Director for Africa has noted that the large-scale introduction of an antigen-based rapid diagnostic test represents a potential game-changer in the continent's fight against the COVID-19 pandemic.
African countries are gearing up to introduce antigen-based rapid diagnostic tests on a large scale. And this will be a game-changer, we think, in the fight against COVID-19. These high-quality rapid tests will help meet the huge unmet need for testing in Africa. We've seen that African countries have faced a significant gap throughout the pandemic. For example, Senegal has significantly boosted its testing capacity, but it still has testing 14 times less than the Netherlands. Nigeria is testing 11 times less than Brazil. With rapid testing, authorities can stay a step of COVID-19 ahead by scaling up active case finding in challenging environments like crowded urban neighborhoods and communities out in the countryside.
Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari has urged young protesters to put an end to the violent unrest in the country, while calling for negotiations to find a solution to the challenging situation, as the country sees widespread protests against police brutality with deadly clashes between police and demonstrators.
In the circumstances, I would like to appeal to protesters to note and take advantage of the various well-thought-out initiatives of this administration designed to make their lives better and more meaningful, and resist the temptation of being used by some subversive elements to cause chaos with the aim of truncating our nascent democracy. I therefore call on our youth to discontinue the street protests and constructively engage government in finding solutions. Your voice has been heard loud and clear, and we are responding.
UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has reiterated his call for a halt to all conflicts around the world in order to help nations deal with the COVID-19 pandemic.
Our main concern at the present moment is to make sure that our appeal for ceasefire translates itself into reality especially in the most dramatic situations in the world. I think the appeal had a considerable success in the support it has created in 180 member states, in some 20 armed groups that at least adopted some temporary truces, more than 800 civil society organizations, but we still have a number of situations where the spoilers or the mistrust that existed have not allowed the ceasefire to materialize. I mean, look at Armenia and Azerbaijan. In the last 2 weeks, COVID cases have doubled in Armenia and increased 80% in Azerbaijan. Armenia is not winning, Azerbaijan is not winning, the COVID is winning. We need to stop.
And we've come to the end of this news brief, but remember you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and Telegram. For teleSUR English, I'm Katrina Goss, and thank you for watching.